What's up, guys? This is Jay from COI. So today we found more evidence that backs our position on Medicare for All. Namely, there was a study done by no other than the universities of Yale, Florida, and Maryland. Pretty credible schools there. And what it said was that Medicare for All will save our government $450 billion annually. It's kind of interesting because we always hear the opposite when it comes to Medicare for all. How much is it going to cost? This plan is a pipe dream. Hey, if we could start from scratch, then yeah, I'd do it, but we can't. It would cost too much money. But this report shows it'll actually save us money. And that kind of is not, I should say, it's not an outlier. This report is really important because it matches other reports that we've seen and other research that has been done on a universal healthcare system here in America. There was one study that came out that was done by the Koch brothers. Well, I shouldn't say they'd done it, they paid for it. And that study showed that Medicare for All would cost about $34.5 trillion over 10 years. But in that same decade, our current healthcare system would cost about $36 trillion. So that $450 billion number is pretty close. Now, aside from the financial aspect of it, which honestly, it's a relief to hear numbers like that. For somebody who believes in it and somebody who trusts Bernie Sanders and definitely believes that we should have Medicare for all, I also, though, want other third party looking into it and to make sure the numbers do add up. And yes, the numbers do add up, and in fact, they do better than that. But the other important aspect of this was that they actually focused also on human life, which is priceless, let's be honest. And this study showed that more than 60,000 preventable deaths would be prevented. And that's annually, not just once it's passed. Annually, 60,000 people, 60,000 Americans won't die. I don't think you can get more American first than giving Americans health care and preventing them from dying. The important aspect of it is this is talking about the millions of Americans who aren't insured. And yeah, that's a huge number. Something like 27 million Americans don't have insurance. But the statistics in this study were actually quite conservative because it didn't account for all the Americans who are underinsured. And there are about 45 million Americans underinsured. Now, these are the people you hear stories where they're on insulin, they're on heart medicine, stuff like that, and they can't afford the medicine. And so either they buy it off the street, and yeah, that happens, or most often they just kind of skip doses. And hey, they're supposed to take two a day. Well, they're taking one a day, or they're taking one every other day. They're doing whatever they can to stretch their medicine. This study does not include those people. And there is a lot more people, and a lot more of them die. I mean, we could be talking about 150,000 Americans uh, living every year that would have died under our current healthcare system. And if you think about it for half a second, can you imagine the implication of that number? If there was a study that said um, the fracking that's going on in America right now will kill 150,000 people this year, there would be a lot to push back on fracking, right? Or, hey, let's go more topical. The coronavirus is going to kill 150,000 people in America. It would be huge. It would be everywhere. And as it should, 150,000 lives that's incredibly important. Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan could save up to 150,000. Now, that's my numbers, 68,000 for sure. And you can interchange those. I'm just saying you're talking about 27 million uninsured, 45 million underinsured. There is a lot of people in there. But for the sake of this, let's just go with the 68,000. Still, 68,000 American lives die of the coronavirus. Huge epidemic, huge problem. Everyone's talking about it. Bernie Sanders' plan saves 68,000 lives. And MSN, Fox, CNN, they're not talking about it. And I'll talk about it. I'm sure there's going to be other progressive outlets that'll talk about it, but nowhere else is going to talk about it. And so it's important to get this story out, and it's important to talk about it because it doesn't matter who you're going to vote for. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It's fiscally and morally irresponsible to be against Medicare for all at this point. We now have hard evidence, not just one study, not just two studies. There's somewhere up around 5 to 8 studies on the healthcare system that shows Medicare for all being not only fiscally responsible and saving us a lot of money, but saving us a whole lot of American lives. Anyway, I'm curious what you guys think about it. Do you support Medicare for all? What is your issue with Medicare for all? Um, anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Take care.